So I saw your LinkedIn.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah.
And it's honestly the favorite, my favorite LinkedIn that I've seen.
Oh, for sure.
You've done it very creatively.
Yeah.
So you say you're a podcaster, creative director,
Yeah.
copywriter,
Yes,
entrepreneur, and DJ.
Yes.
So I want to start with the podcasting part of it.
Yeah.
Mic Check.
Mic Check podcast.
Honestly, that's one of the best names that I've heard of because it's Mic Check. Mic Check.
And it came in. It was a crazy idea that just came up randomly. Because like ever since Kitambo, I always wanted to be on radio, and share conversations and just make people laugh and dig deep into like things that affect people in their everyday lives and like just give a personal insight on my experiences and things that are happening around. But I never got a chance to get on radio. I think I went for a couple of auditions and all that. But now when you got into the digital age, podcasting was a thing. So I always thought about it, and I came up with the name Mic Check a long time ago. And then it was like a concept of this is the podcast that will pay me. So that's why the check was there. And I actually came up with the word Mic Check when I was looking at an actual check I was banking.
Nice.
And you see how the check imeandikwa pay Stephen Mwangi X amount, amount in numbers and whatever. So in my mind, I wanted it to be like play Mic Check podcast, and then where you put amount in words, we write the episode title, and then where you put amount in Kenya shillings, we write like the episode number, like 8 cents. That I was envisioning a poster like that, but then of course COVID, things slapped up. I didn't even know where to start from. And then I met Cheque, I think in 2021.
Oh, so you guys just met recently?
We just met recently. I think it's just barely 2 years now of knowing each other. I met him.
And for context, he's one of your hosts.
Yes, for context, Cheque. Shout out to Cheque and Mara, my co-hosts on the podcast, and the entire crew. So I met him, and we started having conversations. Basically, they were just culture conversations. We were just chilling, hanging. We realized we liked the same things. I'd find him in places where I usually frequent. And then we just started having that conversation of the podcast. And he told me he tried podcasting a couple of times. Actually, he has a couple of shows on YouTube. And then he liked the concept of Mic Check and everything. So he told me we should go check out the studio and record a pilot. I think that was early last year. Yeah, so we went to the studio, we checked out the pilot. When we were doing the pilot, is the first time I met my other co-host, Mariah.
So Mariah and Cheque were the friends first?
They were friends, and then they done a podcast called... it was called The Catalyst. It was just around the same things, culture, what's happening, what's popping, what can we discuss. So we recorded a pilot that ended up being our first episode. And then from there, it's been 81 episodes so far.
I think, honestly speaking, there are two. Yours is one of my favorite podcasts in Kenya.
Appreciate it,
Mic Check and Ikonini.
Ikonini. I love Ikonini.
Yeah, because for yours, I feel like you really give attention to the guest.
Yes.
And you really do your research to the guest.
Yeah.
So far, you've done, I think, 81 episodes as of last night.
Yes.
In a span of a year and a half since last year.
Yes. I'd say a year and a half. Yeah.
What's your process like when so for example you want to interview Bien or whoever? So what do you do? How do you reach out? And then the process of researching the guest, what to ask, what not to ask. How do you go about it?
So we started doing guests this year actually. So as of all of last year, we were just the three of us. Just discussing things that are happening around, a recap of the weekend.
Which is also one of my favorite things you guys do.
Yes. Yeah, and you take a deep dive, and the essence of the show is it's this all the scoop served silly. Because it's serious issues, but we have like a humorous take to it.
Like that there's one of your guys, behind the scene guys, was explaining to you guys about the Ukraine war.
Yes.
And I find it interesting because he genuinely looks very young. And it means because he's invested in the podcast, even though he's not a host, he kind of wants to do research so he can also come and contribute.
Yes. That's the thing, So when we started doing guests this year, we wanted to give like our audience like a perspective of the guests that you've never seen before. Because the breakdown of the guests that we've had so far, we've had some musicians, some culture guys, just entrepreneurs. Like the episode that's gonna drop, I think on Sunday, is an entrepreneur who owns like some of the biggest bars in Nairobi. wanted to give guys like a scoop or like an in on people like you never get to access to, but you have questions. So we do that for you.
Yeah.
So for us, it's never just going to be celebrities. I think even our next guest is going to be a lawyer. We want to interview someone who's like in the content creation space. We just want to interview someone who's just cool and online. And the interview structure is giving you a perspective into this person's life that you'll never see before. For example, like musicians will always be on radio, TV, being asked about their music. When's your next album? Who do you want to collab with? How did you start music? What's next for you in the music scene? You'll get those answers everywhere but mic check. We want to know, like, how many times do you poop? What's your biggest fear in life?
Yeah.
What was your first heartbreak? Like, we give you like an insight or a perspective like never seen before.
Yeah. Like fun questions.
Yes, and it has to feel like this is not an interview. It has to feel like you're hanging out with that person.
You're having a conversation.
Yeah, like it's like you're on a table with like your celebrity superstar, but then you're just having a conversation about how he doesn't like Madondo, or how he fixed a puncher once and he was like, never again. You know, it's just, you'll be like, what the hell this guy's talking about? But then you'll watch it till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 81 episodes in. Do you think podcasting has made you a better conversationalist? When you're having a conversation with somebody, like your friend, are there things that you've learned from podcasting that has made you a better person to talk to or converse with?
Yeah, I'd say it's actually helped me like build a lot of insight and actually take in a lot of stuff when I'm conversing with someone. Because normally, even the work that I do and the personality that I have, I'm very talkative, I'm very open and very expressive.
Yeah.
But now what podcasting has taught me is there's a lot of insight that comes before you share your own opinions or thoughts on something. I think it's helped me know how to create a balance when I'm speaking to someone, know when to listen, know when to interject, know when to, and also like how I can read up or create insights beforehand. But it has also helped me a lot in coming up with things just on the spot. Yeah. And trying to make the conversation pop.
And with your dynamic trio, Mariah and Cheque.
Yes.
Because you did not know them.
Yeah.
How did you end up having that kind of chemistry? Is it natural or do you learn in the job?
I think it was natural because honestly, like I said, when we shot the pilot, and the pilot was just for us to check out like if the chemistry is right, if this thing has legs and everything. But we watched it, we were like, let's upload it and let's just go, and then next week let's meet and let's do it again, and then next week let's meet. I'd also say like I've known Cheque a bit longer than Mariah, although it's just maybe by a few weeks, maybe months. And then now we're personal friends, the three of us. Like we hang out outside the podcast to check up on each other. So I think the friendship element has helped. The chemistry, honestly, I'd say it was God sent. Because it's not just every day you meet someone and you gel with for more than 80 hours on screen, you know. We also talk a lot, we banter a lot, we try and have conversations that lead us towards knowing how to gel with each other. Another thing that I'll give a shout out to is the fans and the guys who watch the podcast. I think the feedback has been really positive. We call them checkmates. I like how this mic check name just gave itself legs.
It became a thing.
The fans of the podcast are called checkmates.
Checkmates, that's clever.
Yeah, like even when I was coming up with the name checkmates, we looked for a name for like 50 episodes in, we didn't have a name. And then one day we were just hanging out at a bar listening to live music, and then I just texted Mariah and Cheque on the group. I was like, guys, these guys are our mates, they're our checkmates. And then we all just linked up at the bar and we just were like, this is what we're going with. So I think on-screen chemistry was God sent, to be honest. But it's really nice support from just the friendship, and that we are in similar industries where most of us we're creatives, we think the same, and we really push each other like on a personal level as well.
And having done podcasts, are there insights that you can give, especially people who kind of want to start? Things that people don't really think about. For example, for me, the thing that I have experienced myself with what I am doing is that you never structure it. Really, if you think about it, and if you do, the conversations you have, you always have to be wary of the time. So where to interject, where to ask a different question, where to ask, to break down whatever they're saying and ask a question from what they say. So do you have any tips of podcasting that you can give?
I don't want to sound like those entrepreneurs or rich people who are like, start with what you have, that camera phone, that whatever. I mean, a lot of the information of most things that people do right now, whether it's a passion project or for money, is online.
Yes.
I would say like sit down and ask yourself a couple of questions. One, you want to start a podcast? That's amazing. Two, it's not just about what do you want to talk about, how many episodes do you want to do, who do you want to interview, and all that. All that will come later.
Yeah.
Just ask yourself what gap is your podcast going to fill in the market.
Yeah.
We had a couple of insights, and it's just like business insights. Like you identify a gap, and you find the best way to fill it that fulfills you and also fills the gap itself. So I won't tell people like and it's okay, you can start with your iPhone recording in your house and all that, but it's also asking yourself, is production value something that you really want to create? If you're liquid, by all means go on Amazon, buy all the gear and just start. But ideally asking yourself like how is my podcast going to be different from the next podcast?
Everyone else.
Is it going to be just guys sitting and discussing who sits in front of the car, my mom or my wife? Is it going to be a stupid? Am I going to share my insights with the world? Am I going to tell people about what I do and sort of like create insights around it? Like I think that's the biggest thing. It's just identifying what makes your podcast unique and how can you sustain that. Then once you begin, the keyword is just consistency.
That's one of the things that I struggle with, and I know most people struggle with. But if you make it routine, it's like starting a business. You will not get what you want the first year. Give yourself 2-3 years, but you have to be consistent. You have to show up every single day for that biashara. It's the same thing with podcasting. You have to show up. You have to constantly, every time you say something, you have to think of it as something that you can talk about
on the podcast itself. And then like when you're building this small community of your audience, it'll start with maybe your friends, your 1 or 2 people who you share your first link with. And then randomly people will just get on the podcast because they'll find you somewhere. Of course you'll have a plan. You'll be like, okay, I'll be on this particular social media platforms. I'll put my links here and there. If you have money, put a billboard up. You'll have a marketing plan of how to make your podcast known. And then those are the guys now you'll just be sustaining conversations with, because they'll expect you. If you tell them, my episode drops every Wednesday, I guarantee you at least one person will be waiting for that episode.
Yes.
So it's your job not to disappoint.
It's like TV. Remember when we had episodes talking a specific day? Game of Thrones.
So imagine when the Game of Thrones haitaita air leo. So we normally move around our schedules to try and accommodate. Like Chaxi will not be on the next episode because he's traveled, he's out of the country. But we are gonna figure out how still me and Mariah and the guest will still shoot an episode, 2 episodes actually. Sometimes we move around our schedules. If you'll be away over the weekend, then we figure out which weekday can we shoot. A giraffe. So it's just, I think, have a plan of what you want your podcast to be. Create a niche for it, and then just start and be consistent, and then take the learnings and come back. Like you said, it's a biashara. It's like a biashara.
And do you have a favorite episode? Well, I have one for you, but I want to hear yours.
I think I'll say, let me check. My favorite episode for sure is the live audience recording that we did.
Yes.
The Beer District one, because we had like 100 checkmates in the audience. It was fantastic. But the one that I enjoy the most is our interview with Bien.
Yes. My favorite is the Cheque one, the Bien as well,
and Suda.
Suda was also good. And then the ones that you guys just do by yourself. Those ones, do I have a favorite? I think this one's my favorite is the last one. Because sometimes we make like jokes and everything, and then I forget about it until I watch the episode. Like I think I called, was it Bahati? I called him Bwana Boy. on this, and I forgot about it until someone tagged me on a post, I think on Twitter this morning. It's like Mwass, Bwana Boy. Do you guys ever have like political conversations?
So we just say what's in our minds.
Without alienating your audience, because remember, people are very political.
Yes.
If you don't pick my side, you're my enemy.
That's actually and the honest thing we say with the podcast is that we want to be as authentic as possible. That's why it's raw and it's uncut. Like we don't edit and cut out parts. When we roll until we cut, it just goes up as is. Maybe we'll snip out some things that maybe just came out
at the very
But we've had even people stop watching the podcast because of our own personal opinions on like religion. Because like you guys, you keep saying you're not religious. We are very religious. So yeah, even we had a big fan of ours. I won't mention his name. Actually, hosted him on the podcast, and he said he stopped watching the podcast for like I think 8 episodes. Because like every time I come on here, you guys are just talking about how you're atheist and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not comfortable with that. Yeah.
So this is a male giraffe. Male giraffes have darker.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Their spots are darker than female.
That was what I was gonna ask next. Like, how did you know it was a male?
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching that highlight video. If you want to watch the full conversation that we had on the game drive, click here. I'm going to put it here. Don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, or even share with anyone who would be interested in this conversation. It helps my channel and it helps me make more videos like this. Asante. Bye.